Apple Mac Studio Review. The Mac Studio is a small, attractive computer. Some people describe it as two Apple TVs placed on top of each other, while others compare it to a taller Mac Mini. Whichever description you prefer, the design will be quite familiar to Apple fans. Similar to the Mac Mini, the Studio is meant to be put on a desktop. It occupies precisely the same space, but 2 times as high. It's not like the Mac Pro, which would typically rest on the ground. But its solidity should be mentioned, in particular, if you have an M1 Ultra most potent configuration, which has a heatsink making it additional 2 pounds more than the beginning edition with an M1 Max processor inside. Although it isn't supposed to be lugged around often, if you lift it up then its weight will take notice. The superb feature of the chassis is the port selection. To my amazement, there are even ports on the front including an SD card slot, a great convenience for creative experts. We were taken aback by how pleased we would be with these access ports. Every time we could set up something without needing to rise and crouch behind my machine, it just improved my day somewhat. I'm particularly pleased that Apple didn't do away with the 2 USB-A ports on the back of the 2021 iMac. Which is great for us, since we are not ready to give up my trusty old USB-A mouse. On top of that, professionals who need to move software and data between clients will be delighted to know they can count on those practical ports. Additionally, you'll find 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports and 1 HDMI port on the Mac Studio's backside, giving you experience an even greater advantage in multi-display setups as you can connect up to 5 simultaneous monitors. The biggest highlight of the Mac Studio is its inner components. The M1 Ultra is the star of this device, as it's Apple's most powerful chip yet. It's essentially 2 M1 Max chips placed side by side, giving it double the CPU cores, double the GPU cores, and 800 GB per second of memory bandwidth for outstanding performance. Though Apple isn't the first to attempt combining 2 GPUs into one chip, others have had similar attempts in the past. Plus, you always have the option of installing 2 graphics cards into your computer, provided that your software is compatible. Splitting a computationally intensive work duty between 2 GPUs seems like an obvious solution. Yet, this is far from a relatively simple endeavor. Back in the day, independent programs had to decide how to marshal those GPUs in collaboration with each other, and skillfully dispersing an onerous task between 2 different cards proved difficult to mechanize. It requires lots of hard work to confirm that the pins are remaining contemporaneous with one another. If one ever slips out of phase with the other for even a brief moment, it can ruin a full procedure. Therefore, applications normally just put both GPUs to work performing odd tasks. With the M1 Ultra, Apple is experimenting with something disparate. As opposed to simply embedding 2 M1 Maxes in one computer, it is applying a process termed UltraFusion to attach 2 chips in such a manner that it appears to be only one chip in the system. The chip die comes equipped with an installed interconnection for this technology, offering an astonishing 2.5 TB per second of bandwidth between the M1 Maxes. Apple's statement is that this extensive data stream will enable these 2 chips and macOS to interact well enough that they will divide any particular task accurately amongst themselves. In other words, an app similar to Premiere won't necessitate modification for a dual GPU setup. It will recognize the M1 Ultra as one GPU, pass tasks to it, and let it get them finished. Recently, many reviews of Apple's professional Mac have agreed that the hardware is great but that their software, particularly Adobe Creative Cloud, has not been optimized to suit Apple's vision. But by now, Adobe has had sufficient time to delay no more. Apple has sold a mass of M1 products, the demand is there, and Adobe has answered. Premiere, Photoshop, Lightroom, Audition, Media Encoder, and more all run natively on Apple Silicon. And the narrative has virtually reversed. The Mac Studio appears to be one of the few computers that are capable of unlocking the whole potential of Adobe software.